All right, not the best news yesterday. Yu Darvish, elbow inflammation. The I word is not something the Padres fans want to hear at any time, but especially when it's with one of your best starting pitchers on March 18th, which is what we heard yesterday from Mike Schilt when he was talking to the media. And he talked to the media for a couple of minutes in his pregame scrum last night or yesterday afternoon in Peoria. And yeah, it was not a good update. I'm reading from Kevin Acee in the UT. The start of Yu Darvish's season is in doubt as it was revealed Tuesday. He was shut down due to elbow inflammation. At best, it seems Darvish's first start would come at the back end of the rotation. The calendar and the Padres stated desire to preserve the 38-year-old right-hander so he can help them later in the season, indicate his absence could be longer. And what I didn't like, because I didn't know this before reading this last night, Darvish, I knew he played catch yesterday, but he threw only lightly in about 60 feet for 5 minutes. So it wasn't any like intense throwing session. Obviously, this seems like it was just planned to be light like this because he's coming off of um, general fatigue, is what it was called before we heard inflammation. But if it went from fatigue to inflammation, then it seems to me like things are getting worse. And when I hear elbow inflammation, and then by the way, something that I don't think people are mentioning enough, or maybe they didn't read this article. Schilt says here, we'll see how he recovers from it, give him a couple more days. And this is the part. We don't know what it is exactly, but he did have some elbow tightness. So we got inflammation, we've got elbow tightness. That's not what I want to hear from a manager of a guy that's a 38-year-old who is going to be relied on pretty heavily, or was supposed to be relied on pretty heavily this year. We'll see what happens. Joe Musgrove's out with Tommy John. As much as I would like to see Stephen Kolek be another Michael King, don't know. Kyle Hart would love to see him have success. Don't know. Matt Waldron, oblique strain. Randy Vasquez, yeah, he made 20 plus starts this past year, but he's not Yu Darvish. So should Padres fans be worried? I think whatever word you want to use, worried, concerned, yeah, I think you should. Should you be in full panic mode? No, because we don't know how long he's going to miss. He was going to be lined up for opening day. She'll kind of mention that when talking about naming Michael King the opening day starter the other day. But then he ends up not being able to stay on schedule. And then he was totally fine with giving up opening day, like great teammate. She'll talked about that. Great. But then they shut him down for a little bit because he has the fatigue, the bullpen doesn't happen. His expected start doesn't happen. His last start, I think, was last Thursday. And then now we're going from fatigue to inflammation. And also, Schilt mentioning, oh, yeah, did have some elbow tightness. That's not great. Joe Musgrove, he had elbow tightness. He experienced elbow tightness. I believe this is what he said. He mentioned elbow tightness, knowing before, okay, yeah, I'm going to need Tommy John. May not be Tommy John for Yu Darvish, but I'm not going to sit here and see inflammation and some elbow tightness and just be like, oh, no, everything's fine. Everything's all good. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to be concerned about. Yeah, there is something to be concerned about for sure. Um, like I said in another video recently, I'm okay if he doesn't start the season in the rotation. I want Darvish to be healthy for 5 months, 4 months, whatever it's going to be. Not rush it, make starts, only make 3 or 4 starts, and then boom, he's done. They got to be smart about this, obviously. But now, if you don't have Darvish and you don't have Musgrove, imagine if they had those two guys, and then you have maybe they wouldn't have added Nick Pivetta, but they have Cease, King, Darvish, Musgrove, and then you have Pivetta as a 5. Now Nick Pivetta is the 3 starter because you got. I'm not saying Pavetta's bad. Fine, we'll see. I like the competitor. Okay, but you're seeing this depth here. Thankfully, the Padres had at least in arms that are competing for a rotation spot. Now those guys are filling the rotation and more likely to make this roster because now you got Michael King, you got Dylan Cease, Nick Pivetta as the 3, and then it's 4-5 Kolek Hart. Or would they go Vasquez over Kolek and have Kolek continue to develop a little bit in the minors, make some more starts, get more built up? Or is that more a Kyle Hart situation where they have him go down initially to get built up? Because I am seeing some people say, well, this could open up a bullpen spot because you have, let's say, Vasquez Kolek in the rotation or Hart Vasquez, whoever. And then you have the other guy as that long man in the bullpen. But the problem with that is he's not guaranteed to be pitching in games because it depends on the situation, right? If you want Kolek to be built up and you want him going 5+ innings, a starting pitcher, you can't bank on the starting pitcher only going 4 innings in a start, and then you pull him and bring Kolek in for 5 and or whoever, Hart, doesn't matter. You get my point. Bring him in for 5 to finish the game. Could that be nice to like give the bullpen some days off here early? Sure. But if you're the Padres, you want those guys that could be in this rotation to be built up. So is the best spot for them sitting in the bullpen as a long man? Or is it in El Paso where they're guaranteed to stay built up? Because even if they get knocked around, you can keep the pitch count up. Because I know that they're going to say that they're trying to win, obviously, at the minor league level. But what's more important, winning in El Paso or having someone be built up, especially early on in the season, and get more experience starting games if it's Kolek down there? So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, obviously, it's you want. Here's the thing: going into spring training, right? It was good because we had Darvish, King, Cease, Pavetta, and then it was a fight for that 5 spot with multiple guys, right? Now, the fight, it could be 2 spots in the rotation, and now there's less depth that you're seeing in, let's say, AAA, and injuries will happen. And if it's 5 starters, and let's say we included Darvish in that before this whole inflammation, some elbow tightness thing popped up, 5 starters, how many starters are the Padres going to have to use? Maybe 10 during the year? Maybe more than that. I think they used what, 8 last year? I think I saw AC write something about that. They got pretty lucky with that last year. And maybe not lucky is the right word, but credit to the Padres and the pitchers for dedicating themselves and pretty much staying healthy a lot of the time. You can't bank on that happening again. So, who are you going to be calling upon? Are we going to be seeing bullpen games? When Brian Hoeing comes back, are they going to want him to be stretched out to 4 innings, 3, 4 innings? Johnny Brito, is he going to be that last man in the bullpen as a long guy, and then they send one of these starters that doesn't make it to AAA to keep building up and keep having those starter innings? But yeah, Darvish, Musgrove, and then I do need to mention Waldron because I know that it wasn't the best ending to last year, and he hasn't had the most uh, dominant spring training. Yes, it's spring training, and he's literally, if there's someone that's working on something, it's Waldron, incorporating the knuckleball more, right? But still, like he had a 10-11 start span that kept the Padres contending, and he was a big without Waldron, you wouldn't have had that production from the whatever spot that was in the rotation, back end of the rotation. You wouldn't have made the playoffs without that guy. I think that needs to be said and pointed out again. So I know Darvish and Musgrove are the big names, but Waldron is significant as well to have out. We'll see how long, and we'll see how long with Darvish. But yeah, we can be worried and concerned. In full panic mode, don't think we should be in full panic mode yet. But yeah, this is not great news, not a great start rotation wise, health wise to this season, and we haven't even started the season. So give me your thoughts in the comments. I think this would help the Padres not trade King, not trade. They weren't going to get traded anyway to start the year. I think if you're going to trade him, it's after the Padres flop this year. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying if they do, then that's when you would. But now with these injuries, you're definitely not trading Cease. You're definitely not trading Michael King because you need those guys at the top of this rotation. So yeah. And by the way, I was looking unrelated, but I was looking at Fangraphs and they have Gavin Sheets not on this roster. They have Jose Iglesias as the DH. They have The bench: Wade, Rosario, Connor Joe, Luis Campusano. Yeah, and not Maldonado. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Diaz and Maldonado right now with the catching situation. And Gavin Sheets, I'd be shocked if he's not on this roster.